Good morning. Rita is with us. Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Well, yeah, it's okay. I was looking out at Fresh Gold Towers this morning, and I have to say I was expecting either ice, snow, or something, but in actual fact, it's quite pleasant. It's quite sort of normal, which, I suppose is a good thing.
I've got to take you back to the phrase fresh gold towers. I've now got an image of you with like a little minion and a white cat sort
Well,
of looking out over your people.
yeah, that's it. I've ordered them, and the trouble is, I have trouble with the drawbridge.
Oh, okay.
I can't get the drawbridge up, and no matter how much I wind it, it doesn't happen. So I've just got to fill the moat, and we're there.
All right, well, we'll go with that.
Okay.
Living the dream.
Yes, living the dream indeed. All right, so this week is a little different, but on the same take is the fact we're talking about portion control, and is it the thing that whereby people think if they're trying to lose weight, then if they have all this mountain of food, no, they shouldn't eat it. They should be small, or is it about controlling what it is? And the amount is it a two-pronged attack?
Yeah, it's a multi-pronged kind of faceted way of looking at food. So essentially, we talk about a lot about the mental health and the emotional and mental well-being behind being healthy, right? But you have to balance that out with science and fact. Yeah, our bodies will work better in certain states than others, and portion control is something that I see people in general struggling with constantly. So there seems to be different reasons. One, there are people out there where it's more is better. If I eat more, I just feel better. It makes me feel satisfied. I can guarantee you most of the people that do that probably eat at a very rapid pace. So they're eating really fast. So their body is not actually registering that it's eaten the food.
Guilty.
Until, quite some time after they finish their meal. So some people think, right, the more I have, the better I'll feel. Other people, when they have, this is sort of before they try and do anything, they will fill their plate and it looks like a reasonable size portion. Nothing wrong with it, but the balance is completely off.
Right.
So we're not going to get technical, but there are three sort of major food groups that most people have heard of: protein, fat, and carbohydrate. So most people, if you look at their plate, usually the carbohydrate will cover pretty much the majority of it. This is why a lot of people say, oh, I'll cut out carbs. I just won't eat carbs. Bad idea. Eat carbs. Carbs are great. They're good for you. Eating them to excess is not good for you, in the same way that if you ate vegetables to excess, it probably at some point wouldn't be good for you. So it's not just about the overall quantity, but the size of each of the food groups that you've got on your plate. And then when people go, right, I'm going to go on my diet and I'm going to, make this the time this works, they tend to either drastically reduce the whole amount. So what they're then eating is nowhere near enough to satisfy them. They don't think about the speed of what they're eating, which has a huge effect on your body's ability to register that it's actually full rather than still needing more. And they cut out a food group. So they keep their portion the same, but they cut out a food group like carbohydrate, and therefore the balance is completely off. So it's about finding the right way that works for you. And there's a relatively simple guide that is a good starting point for most people. So it was developed by Mac Nutrition. Anyone in fitness and nutrition will know that that's sort of a really high standard of nutrition training to do. And it's basically the hand guide, which sounds a bit odd, I know. But if you look at your hand, it's in proportion to you. Your hand, Barry, will be definitely larger than mine. It's just in proportion to you as a person, right? So you want to use your hand as a guide for what goes on your plate. So you look at your palm.
Yep.
Yeah. That's about the amount of nice quality protein you want to put on a plate.
Right.
So when I say that, I mean things like, chicken, fish, turkey, lean beef, we could say lean mince, a steak, but not one with tons of fat on it. So a nice, good quality protein. I don't mean processed sausages, which are 10% meat and 90% who knows. Yeah. So nice quality protein is your palm. You then look at fat. So fat is things like butter, oil, so what you might cook food in, but it could also be fat that's inherent in food. So that steak that I just mentioned, if you don't cut off the fat, then that's also considered fat on the plate. So you want to look at your thumb. So if you look at your thumb, that's the amount of fats you want on your plate. And then we look at carbohydrates. So we're going to look at our hand cupped, just like this, cupped hand. So in that cupped hand, that would be the amount of sort of carbohydrates that you would want. So we're talking potato, rice, pasta. I don't mean dry. I mean the amount that actually goes on the plate. Right. And then one fist, a clenched fist of vegetables. Now,
okay,
that is for a woman. So you've got, because women are obviously smaller in general, so we need less. So for a woman, palm of protein, thumb of fat, cupped hand of carb, and a fist of veg. Essentially, as a man, you can double your veg, so add another fist in, and double your carb, add another cup in. So it's a relatively simple way of looking at your plate saying, is that correct? So yesterday I put chicken breast on my plate and went, I was about to say something I can't say on radio there. It's like, that is a very large breast of chicken on my plate. It was huge. Yes. Right. And I looked at my hand and it was just absolutely out of proportion. So I cut it in half. Right. Even now, because most people say, oh, I just had one chicken breast. But one chicken breast of, palm size and one that is the size of my face is a huge difference, even though it's one chicken breast. So it gives you a really nice indication using that hand guide. If you want to look it up, just look up Mac Nutrition, like hand nutrient guide, right, on Google, and you'll get lots of images of diagrams of it. But yeah, it's a really simple way of starting to look at what you're eating and how you're eating it.
So are you saying that if by using these guides, and I think you're all about less complication, making things a little bit easier for people, because I suppose in this world of fitness and nutrition and losing weight and all the rest of it, if it's too complicated, people just push it to one side and say, well, I can't be bothered with that. But what you're doing is just making it seem a much more simplistic process by using the tools that you have at hand. And do you think that is makes it easier for people, or does it just make it easier for them to understand?
Both. I think if I said to you, right, you need to have 120 grams of lean protein, and then you need to have just 15 grams of fat. And if we go into things like that, okay, it's relatively easy to understand. People know grams, makes sense. But it's not going to be appropriate for each individual. If I said like across the board, an amount, a weight, well, what I need in weight is different to you. Yeah. So let's look at finding something that matches us in proportion. So hand works. And two, it needs to fit in with the fact that people either genuinely are really pushed for time, or they're not prioritizing time for it.
Right. Okay.
Everyone wants things right now. No one is willing anymore to wait or to take longer to achieve things. Okay. That's just the society we live in. It's the way that our culture has developed us, with the sort of instant gratification. You want a takeaway, ring, 30 minutes later it's there. You want a new, I don't know, pair of shoes, Amazon Prime, it's there with you tomorrow. So because everything's instant and we expect things to be simple, let's make it simple and quick. Chuck the portion hand guide on your fridge and you just look at it and you know exactly what you need to do. Yes, when you get down the line, and maybe you've done that for a little while and you want to really further what you're doing, you can look at different methods of weighing, tracking, controlling, whatever you want to do, if that's appropriate for you. But as a good starting point, as a first step, let's make it as simple and easy and effective as possible.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, and I think that when people go, if it's less complicated, it is more achievable. And if you have preconceptions about how things might be, and they look a little bit complicated or a little bit involved, people will shy away from them. But I have to say that for me, I think that if you simplify it, and if you want to make it complicated later on once you've got on the ladder, I think that's okay. All right, let's break for a bit of music now. You've chosen Ed Sheeran this morning and Shivers. Have you had the shivers? Have you been a bit?
When you asked me about music choices, I just thought, what would I like to listen to? It's got no bearing on any of what we're talking about. I was just like, what's a couple of songs that I enjoy?
Oh, why not? Let's do that. We'll be back with Rita in a few minutes after we heard from Ed Sheeran and Shivers. Music from Ed Sheeran and Shivers. It's Fresh Gold Radio this morning, and we are live with Rita, who is, she's sitting there in her comfortable studio, and here I am sitting here in mine. And you always seem to manage to look so relaxed, and but relaxing is one thing, and is it a facade that some people push forward, or is it something that you are naturally relaxed because of the way you do things in your world? Because a lot of people are stressed, and like you said, the world we live in, we want to get it now, we want to do this, we want to do it that way, and we're sort of pressurized into this way of life, and it can cause people a lot of stress and stuff. But how do you manage to stay relaxed?
I didn't always used to be. So I was an exceptionally stressed person, trying to manage, my own health insecurities, anxieties, management, employees, kids, house. I couldn't relax. I was that classic overthinker. My brain wouldn't stop. It was an incredibly exhausting place to be. How you learn to relax is dependent on the person. So it's not going to be the same for everybody, because everybody responds to different techniques different. So, but the first thing that I did was I started journaling.
Right.
So one of the things that stresses us in this sort of society is there's so much we're trying to keep in our heads. So many thoughts, to-do lists and feelings of standards that we have to meet that we're keeping in our heads, that it can be overwhelming. It becomes, one of my clients described it as a circus yesterday. It becomes a circus where you can't focus on any one thing. And when you can't focus, stress and panic overwhelms. So the first thing I started doing was journaling every evening before bed, all of the thoughts in my head, everything. It wasn't a diary. It wasn't, today, someone smiled at me. It was these are the thoughts that are making me anxious. Let's get that energy out of me and put it on paper, because stress is just energy. Happiness is energy. All of these different energies. Some of them we want to keep in our system, some of them we don't. So I took the energy and I put it down on paper. And once I put down all of these stressful thoughts, I then would always write 5 things that were good about the day. Could have been that I completed a project. Could have been that my children said, I love you, whatever it might be. 5 good things about the day. And that was the first place I thought started, was just getting the thoughts out on paper. The second place I started was using the stress and control that I had at the time to start to schedule in, you can call it me time, relaxing time, whatever you want to call it. Some people find it hard at the beginning to just stop and relax at any given moment. It's easier as a first step, so these are all first steps, to schedule it in. So in your diary. So I had a lady who never got fresh air because working from home now, just sat at a computer, kettle was on the desk. She didn't move. She didn't go anywhere. So it was scheduling it into her diary at 12 o'clock. She would go for a walk, which means that no one could book in meetings. It was part of her day, and she could use that stress and need for control to start carving out moments of calm. And then you start to build and you start to find what the reasons are that you're stressing. What are you fearing? Where's the anxiety coming from? And you can start to break that down and it becomes easier. But the first thing is just little steps. Use what you have to make it work for you, and understand that in any of this, consistency is key. Absolutely key. Everyone says, I'd love to meditate. I can't. I've got too many thoughts. I can't shut my brain down. They try once, they give up. It takes time to practice and learn to relax, because it is a way of being and a habit. And if it's taken you decades of habit building to get to the stress point that you are, you're not going to undo that habit and create a relaxed habit in the space of a day. So consistency is key.
So do you think then that because of our impatience tied up with, oh, we can get that tomorrow, we can have that now, do you think that also applies to ourselves in the sense that, for instance, if somebody, I won't go into details, but somebody wants to go bodybuilding, they've seen somebody with this fantastic body and they want to build up like that and think, oh yeah, I'm just going to lift a few weights and away I'll go, and that will sort that out. They could end up stressing themselves so much because they can't achieve, because they're trying to do too much too soon. And what I like about the things that you've said is there's no one fix for all. It's not a case of you giving a piece of advice that applies to everybody. Everyone's different. And is it possibly that due to the media and the way things are set out, that everyone's trying to achieve this look or this way of life because that's how it's depicted in the media? Therefore, they want to achieve it, but then find they can't, do it in a blink of an eye. Do you think that it possibly is peer pressure and media pressure?
Yeah, I mean, there's media pressure. There's, instantaneous gratification. There's the fact that you don't see the process. There might be people out there who look fantastic and they'll do a before and after picture. And you see the before, you see the after, and it's like instant. Well, there's before, there's after. I want to do that. Yeah. You don't see the years between the before and after that made that journey possible. I've done a before and after picture on Facebook. And you see one and you see the other, and it just looks like, oh, done, click of a finger. I want to go from that to that. There was work involved. There was a lot of effort. There was changing of lifestyle. So what we see doesn't show the full picture. It's the same as, my favorite analogy that I got told when it came to sort of losing weight and building your body into the shape that you want was, you've got an ice cube in a room and it's just a solid block of ice, right? And it's minus 50 degrees. And a man comes in every day and turns the temperature up by 1 degree. So it's now minus 49, minus 48. That block of ice does nothing, right? It's just staying as a block of ice.
Yep.
On the surface, you can't see anything happening, but he was consistent. He kept going. Degree a day. 51 days later, he turns up the temperature and it goes from 0 to 1 degree, and instantly that ice starts to melt into water. On the surface, there was an instant change. Ice to water, done. No one from the outside has seen this man consistently each day, turning up the temperature, getting it a bit closer to its goal of becoming water. It's the same with your body. Everyone on the outside will see the instant change. No one sees the dedication and commitment that's behind that. And there is absolutely no quick fix to do it. And if you try a quick fix, it will not get you where you want to be. It will not be healthy. It will not be sustainable. And you'll just end up repeating the same cycles.
And probably causing yourself stress into the bargain.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. So it's basically a little, but often, and portion control using your hand, which is fantastic. I would have never thought of that, but you're just too clever for this program. There's no two ways about it. And so what I say is, give me bigger hands. No, I'm only joking. I'm just joking. All right. Listen, Rita, it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you very much. And listen, I'll give you permission to go about your day now. Do whatever you want.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Have fun in your tower and overlooking your minions.
I'm overlooking the minions now, and I am actually in the towers as we speak. But I don't want to get any higher because it's a hell of a long way down. Yeah. Rita, you take care. We'll speak to you soon. And we play this now. This is called Maybe. Ta-da.
Bye.